I always have that in the back of my head. Death, death, and divorce. See which one I'm able to hone in on. Because information is key to getting a deal, creating a deal. The more information you have, um, the easier it is to navigate that negotiation process.
Gary, what's going on, bro?
Kelsey, you back?
I'm great. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
All right. Perfect. Derry, that triple D is a serious breakdown, man. Trust me. I know everyone's gonna be thinking about that all the time.
Makes so much sense.
It's helped me.
So I got kind of mixed up. I think David Amos, you in? Tech lawsuit, you here?
Yeah, tech lawsuit. I just made it on, man.
All right, cool. So I'll let you just figure yourself out here. Derry was just giving a little bit of breakdown and so forth with regard to himself. Since you're in here now, David, we'll kind of go back and forth, but for now, we'll let David introduce yourself as to how you got into real estate investing. We'll go into Chatham and Southern Ontario specifically in a moment. Again, we can kind of go back and forth with you guys, but just kind of maybe just introduce yourself, introduce how you got into investing, etc.
And we'd like to see how you look.
Yeah, I have no video because my laptop crashed, so I'm on another computer. I have no cameras on this one, so it's just audio right now.
All right, so go.
Well, I got into what I'm doing basically through Derry and some of the things that we've been getting into with myself, Kevin, Damien. I believe I saw Damien's on. You know, we would get together every now and then, and we'd throw these ideas out there. And I realized that Derry was already out in Chatham, so I contacted him, went out with him a couple times, saw what he was doing, and at the same time, I started looking around and, you know, saw some things that were interesting and decided to jump. So that's pretty much how I got in a nutshell.
All right, so let's dig right into it then, man. Let's dig right into it. Let's break down. So it's Chatham, the city of Chatham, or the on the outskirts. Where are you guys investing right now? Derry and David, where are you guys exactly investing?
I focused on Chatham, and I look at all of Chatham, Kent. But I had a strategy as to how I got into Chatham. I didn't just decide, hey, Chatham, and this is where we go. I'm a numbers guy and a research guy, and how I started is that I decided to first of all decide methodically how far I was willing to travel to get a deal, how long I was willing to travel to own a rental property. And once I came up with that strategy, then I decided on 3 hours. I drew a circle from downtown Toronto, 3 hours east, west, and north. And then once I came up with that, then I I pulled all of CMHC documents and all of the rents, average house prices, medium income, type of families, single families, all the data I can pull from CMHC. And from there, I chose Chatham, I chose London, St. Thomas, Brantford, Nepean, where else? Belleville. Where's the next one? Perry. Yeah, Perry Sound. I went up to Perry Sound up north. And once I had all of these on a radar, I used to just be searching properties every single day and writing notes in terms of what I find, how much they go for, how much the rents are.
Sorry to cut you, Derry. How long ago was that? When did you first start going out into in that area?
That was 2014. So I did that before end of 2014, middle to end of 2014, I started. All through 2015, I put in a few offers. Didn't really get anything. And then in 2016, I found a fourplex in Chatham. And once again, the numbers worked out because when I do my numbers, which I find is the most important thing, I calculate my cap rates and stuff like that and make sure I'm positive cash flowing. And then I was able to jump. Don't get me wrong, it might sound like it's easy to jump, but when you're the only person doing it and you don't know anybody or anything like that, you double check, triple check, quadruple check your numbers, your situation. And then basically I'm like, hey, if I gotta do this, I gotta do this. And again, while talking to the lady I put in the offer on, I realized that she had an issue. And her issue was debt. And once I realized that she needed that money, I hit her where it hurts on the shins. And
I want to interject quickly there. You made a great point with regards to you 2014 you started to do some research, started to put in the offers, and then 2016. That's only 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a long time ago. So those who haven't started yet, sorry, something in my chin. Those who haven't started yet, who have been thinking about it, as you can see, it's not an overnight thing. But as you plug away, it kind of turns, right? So kind of merge now how Dave how you got out there as well, Chatham, because Derry obviously is led the charge. But Dave, how much convincing did you need? What was your mindset when Derry started to talk about the Chatham in these areas and what he did with the fourplex? What really grasped your mind to say, you know what, let me go out there as well?
Well, my mind was already around getting rental property, so I was already focused in that direction. When I went out with Darian, I actually seen his properties, and then we started going around the rest of the city and started seeing what Chatham had to offer. For me, I looked at the price points and the rent that you were able to collect. So the price points of the property compared to what's available out in the GTA and the rents that we're collecting out in Chatham, that was attractive to me. So when I started looking around a little bit more and started to see different properties, and I started to look at duplexes. Obviously, Derry already stated he's into the fourplexes. My chest wasn't that high yet. So, I started looking at the duplexes and what the rents that were being collected off of those duplexes, and I was sold right away. So at that point, I was already sold on the idea of Chatham. I didn't mind driving out there. At that point, it was about the right property, and one literally just fell into my lap. I dealt with that, and then 6 months later, I was able to get a second one.
So Dave,
yes, sir.
I want to see what you got and the prices. It'd be nice if we can get Kelsey to pull them up, or anybody could pull them up and show to get a sense of what numbers we're dealing with.
Yeah, give me the address so we could run some visuals.
Yeah.
All right. So the first property I got, the address is 243 Park Street. That building is about 100 plus years old. It needed some TLC, but they were collecting $800 for each unit.
Yeah, tell them how much you got it for now.
So we went in there. The owner of that particular property, he had a few properties, and Damien was in that group as well when we first went out to see it. And when we went out there with the realtor, the owner wasn't supposed to be there, but he was there doing some work. So, he was telling us all the different issues that he was going through with this property and other properties, and we start to get the feeling that this guy just wants to get out. So he was asking, when we first seen it, he was asking 110,000. And I was just like, okay, well, you know, I see what you're doing. I don't really like the work that you're doing. How about if I offer you 80,000 and you stop the work? And he was like, well, we can, if we meet at around 95, I'll be happy to let this go. So I was able to get that for 95.
What was it listed at first? What was it listed at first?
109.
Oh, that's not bad. 100.
Yeah, so a duplex. Remember, it's a two-family. It's not a single-family unit. So what was the rent you're getting on it?
So even if I bought it at asking, I mean the rent was still, you're still looking at a positive cash flow, because if I paid 110, if you're looking at the 1% rent to purchase price, if you're looking at it that way, I still make that if I bought it at asking. So I'm collecting right now. I'm renting one unit.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
The red one?
Yeah,
the brick going straight ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's it?
Yeah.
What year was that, David?
What year did I purchase that?
Yes.
That was August 2018.
It was 18. Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, August 2018. I purchased that one. You should see the yard on that one. The yard's amazing.
Yeah, you should do an aerial. The yard is huge. It looks like you could put another house in the back.
Wow.
So Chosen, did people hear how much he said?
95,000. Yeah.
So I purchased that for 95,000.
How you calculate the 20% or the 5%? However you can get it. See how far it goes back? All the way to that fence, way back.
Yeah, way back to the fence line. Yeah.
Wow. Is there access to get? Oh shit! Am I on mute?
No, we hear you.
Sorry guys. I wasn't sure. Do you have access to like if you were to build something back there? Is it a possibility?
I haven't looked into zoning yet, but I can see from the aerial, you can see a couple other properties have buildings at the back, and I'm pretty sure we can, but I haven't looked into zoning yet.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so good.
Can you get closer? Or no?
They're long, but the yards are long, but it's not very wide. So I would have to, and it is a shared driveway. You can see it right there. That's the shared driveway between, that building is a triplex. When that was actually being sold at the same time, and I believe that one sold for 135.
The gray one beside it.
Yeah, that's a triplex.
Dang.
I believe it's
yeah, but full disclosure, that Park Street area is considered the ghetto.
Yeah, we're in a rough.
Yeah, you get the lowest rents in this area.
But you said 800 per unit, right?
Yeah, so I rent one for 800 and the other for 850.
And have you had problems getting your rents?
No problems getting the rents, but I had problems with people because, like Kevin said, it's in a rough side of town. So I just literally went through something with the tenants that I had, and luckily I ended up getting them out just before the Corona lockdowns. Yeah.
Cash for keys or
Pardon me?
Cash for keys, or they just left willingly, or?
No, they didn't leave willingly. I had to use the full extent of the LTV.
Landlord tenant board. Yeah.
I figured that out firsthand. So I wouldn't consider myself an expert on it, but I know my ins and outs of certain things of the LTV right now.
I went through twice. You should read the agreement, the landlord tenant agreement.
Definitely. But
I want to see Derry's property.
Oh, Derry, what's yours at?
So my first property I picked up, it's 31 Orchard Heights Drive.
31 Orchard Heights Drive.
Orchard Heights. ORCHARD Heights. Yeah. This is a fourplex. I like bigger units. I mean, I went as big as I could at the time, because when I was doing my math, I wanted to It was a matter of getting as much tenants in one building as possible. Because I always used to find insurance could catch you with multiple places. And I mean, my goal is not to have 8 units. My goal is, you know, in Chatham, I wanted to have 20 units. So that's why I started off big.
Go to Google so you can
Where did
see.
you find that deal? Where did this deal come about? Where did you end up?
So this deal came about actually. Funny, the only day that I looked on Kijiji. I found this deal on Kijiji, and it was the property manager had this on Kijiji because the owners of this property, they lived in Alberta. They moved from Chatham to Alberta, and they were managing the property from Alberta, and they were getting frustrated with some problems they had in Alberta.
Which one is yours, Derry? This one right in front of us?
Yeah, that one right there.
And this is a 4-unit.
That's a 4 unit. So it's 4, 3, and 1.5. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. And it's on 4. The doors are on 4 corners of the building. So to the right is another 4-plex, which is the exact same layout as mine. And to the left here is a 12 unit that I tried to buy, but that's a problem. The numbers just didn't work on that one.
So how much did you get this one for?
So this one was listed for $248, and I picked it up for $205.
What year was that?
2016.
4 years ago. What
And
do you think? Sorry, go ahead,
Sorry,
Bob.
what rents were you getting for each unit?
Right now I get at the back I get 9 because that's the newest one that got renovated. There's a story with this building why I got it for that little. I was able to knock off so much. And the front at the time was $675. The front right was $7, and the back was $7.
Dang.
Now
Not bad at all.
today,
Yo, 1 unit the mortgage is paid.
9, 710, 780, and 850 in the back.
Nice.
This is in the same part of the town as David's one?
I was about to ask.
No, so this is in a part of town by the Color Riverside area. It's not as rough, but it's not it's not like the nice area. But it's an area with a lot of 4-plexes and 12 units. So the rent, it's all rentals.
So let's go. People obviously they're gonna ask now. Holy smokes, Derry, Dave, you guys are good buys out there. I haven't looked before I even chatted this evening. I should have looked it up. But what's the market currently like? What's grabbing a 4-plex like this currently like? Are they available? It's getting more scarce.
Well, they're getting more scarce. I mean, in the last year and a half.
Hold on, somebody has to go on mute. I hear some music in the background. It's harder to hear Derry.
So the last year and a half, prices have gone up tremendously. So in 2019, in 2018, you could have picked up this for maybe about 310, 280, 310. Now, there's a couple buildings behind this. They're selling for 450. 450, yeah, 450. And good luck because they're not even coming up to say. A lot of people that own these 4-plexes, they own a lot of them. So in my area here, there's 4 other people that own all the other 4-plexes, and there is about 12 of them in the area. And then 3 people that own single units like myself in this area.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was an amazing buy. And what year you buy this again? Was it 2014, you said?
2016. So I bought. So the reason I was able, she had it for 250 something or 248, I think. And what had happened was the tenant in the back was a hoarder. And when I say the hoarder,
Oh yeah, it is.
and they were trying to evict this person, and I mean it was the worst kind. They had dead animals in there. They had like you couldn't see the floor. They took out 3 40-yard bins of stuff out of that back unit. And I literally gutted that unit. When I say gutted it, down to the studs. I had to take out the HVAC ducts because like like they had like animal urine and feces. Like dude, it was crazy. The craziest thing I ever had to deal with. Fortunately for me, I was able to work out a deal where I got it for the 205, and the previous owner paid to empty the building, paid for all the bins. So all of my garbage from gutting it and taking out all of that stuff and dealing with the tenant, all those costs were covered by the seller.
Wow,
And
That's a
then
good deal.
good.
once that happened, then I was able to rebuild it, which took me about, so I picked this up in October 16, and I had it ready, rent ready in May. Yeah, April, May. I had it rent ready. And I was full bathroom, kitchens, floors, walls. I kept the ceiling though. I didn't take out all the ceiling. HVAC.
There is also a contractor, as you could probably see as well. He's got a little bit of a cheat code.
yeah, a little bit of a cheat code. So I was able to get all of that done, and yeah, that's why that back unit goes. I got a really good family in there for 900, and hey, they pay me on the 20th. They're the first rent to come in for the end of the month.
That's nice.
And they keep it clean, so I'm real happy about that. And I was able to develop a real good relationship with my other tenants because they really enjoyed that. In addition to cleaning up that unit, I went and I cleaned up the rest of the building. Give it a wash, give it a clean out the backyards.
So, Derek, just to break down this for you again, because I kind of missed out the part of it. So it's as you can see the beside it, it's upstairs, downstairs for 4 units.
Yes. So look at the unit next door. There's a door in the back and a door on this side. You see? Yeah, right where your cursor is. That the door.
Oh, so it's upstairs and downstairs.
Upstairs and downstairs.
That means they're not living on top of each other. No one's living on top of each other.
No, no one's living on top of each other. It's like 4 townhouses.
That's awesome.
With one enclosed brick and veneer and siding fascia.
Yeah, that's
Dope,
that
man.
leads
That's a
for
wicked buy.
probably less turnover as well. Not like when like we're investing in Cleveland, where a lot of like up down 2 families living on top of each other. This is 4 corners that nobody's actually living on top of each other.
Right. So there's a lot less, and why I like this setup more is that even though you can see your neighbors, you're not really affected by your neighbors because there's a very big degree of separation you have between everybody. You're not sharing much walls at all. And everyone has their own upstairs, downstairs, and a basement.
Oh, shit.
So to set up, I got a basement. So I got 4 water heaters, 4 furnaces, right? 4 of everything. And the tenants cover there, and all the utilities are separate.
Oh, that's dope.
Nice.
So
I have
don't
a
pay any
question.
utilities on the building.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you said that you're a realtor. So were these just private transactions, or did you, like I know for David mentioned, I didn't mention that he was a realtor. So were they private
Yeah,
transactions?
They were. So I have had a lot of deals as a realtor, but lately on my last 3 deals, they've all been private. Actually, no. My last fourplex I picked up, I wasn't private. I actually found that on the multiple listing service. But this one was private because I found this on Kijiji.
Okay.
Okay, so let's look at Dave's second house. Here's another one out in Chatham. These guys didn't stop at one.
So Dave, what's the address for your other property?
I'm not sure which one it will come at. Try 91 Victoria Ave.
I think it shows up as 87 Victoria.
It might show up as 89, but
80.
91 is usually the first one that they find.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's weird, because I'll start with 89 when I'm talking to some people and they're like, I can't find it. I'll say, okay, try 91, and then 91 will show up.
That look like it? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it right there.
So give us the history. Give us the breakdown. Why this one? Why you guys? Well, actually, I can't say you guys hit anything because I remember like a couple years ago up by by Dale's family.
Yes,
thing
we
that
had that conversation.
Correct.
So it wasn't hidden. I put it out there, man.
Jesse, so give us the breakdown. How do you come about this? Was this a dairy assisted situation here again, the guru, or how do you fall into this one? What? Give us a breakdown. Cost.
Well, at this point, I was obviously I got this one 6 months after the other one, so I was already in contact with the realtor, which I was introduced to by Derry. We were going back and forth, and he was always updating me, sending me emails of different things that were going around. So anytime I would go down to Chatham to do some work on the first one, you know, if something he sent interested me through email, I would ask him to check it out while I was there. So we came across this one. This one actually used to be a variety store. They called it Victoria Variety. So the unit on the bottom was a store. So they converted it into residential. So again, it's a duplex. There's no real land with this one because it was the store. This one, similar to Derry, some people that owned it moved from Chatham and they moved out of town, and they were frustrated by managing the property. So they were asking $199 for this. Another old building. It's about 100 odd years old. We weren't able to find the exact date, but I was able to get it for $185. Didn't have much wrong with it. I inherited the tenants, which were paying $800 each. The units are probably twice the size of the units that I have at the other property. So these guys are very lucky in terms of the rent that they're paying. But yeah, not much to do with this building. Is kept very well, and
so give us the breakdown. What's this? This is a 3-1, 3-2-2-1. What is the kind of the breakdown of this property?
It's two bedroom and one bathroom.
Okay, so mirrors, top, bottom mirrors each other?
Pardon me?
The top and bottom mirror each other?
No, totally different, because the bottom was used as a store before.
Yeah.
So we got down on the bottom unit, you got 9.5 foot ceilings. It's very open. It looks like an open concept when you walk in. As soon as we're talking about the door on the left. So as soon as you walk in, you got this big living room and kitchen open area, and you got one bedroom in the front, one at the back. The upstairs, it's a totally different layout. So it's almost like you're in a different house when you're in each unit.
So this one, you inherited tenants, or you got tenants with this one, or
yeah, I inherited the tenants when the people were selling. They had just rented to both. They just got both units rented, so I was able to pick it up just as they had the tenants moved in.
So this is 2018 that you picked this one up. Is that correct?
This is February 2019.
Okay, so people listening in, this is last year, right? This is last year. And again, stuff that me, Chosen, Kevin always talk about is action. So as you can see, that these brothers here, not much talking, but action, right? So if you can't get it on, you can see, maybe we can look at some stuff, what's going on next. But action. Puff, you're not gonna escape this one. Now we have to wait. How much more does David and Derry? You guys have more too? You guys
I
have more
think
properties?
Derry has more. Dave, I don't know. Dave, I don't think Dave has any more.
Yeah, I have another fourplex.
Okay, let's get it.
That one is 65 Lorne Avenue.
Just quick question, because actually, for these properties, did you guys have to do any creative financing, or is just simple X amount, 25%, whatever down payment, and you're in?
I did the 20. Well, for me, I did 25% down to avoid some of the financial requirements at the time, and then as I was telling Puff the other day, is that I use what the burst strategy, which I didn't realize that was the burst strategy at the time. But what I did is then I refied it. So after I renovated it, my first one, and got it all rented out, everything, I refied it, pulled some money out, and then I purchased this one. And this area is pretty good.
Which one is it? Is it this one right in front of it? Is it this one?
No, you gotta go to your left.
Left?
I think it's the one in the corner, right?
Yeah, that one. Where your
The big
cursor is
one?
on. With the
Well,
green
that's nice.
roof. Yeah. So this one is 4 units. There's a park next to it. And this is an old house. Like when I say old, this puppy, got hair in the nose and the ears and the eyes and everything. This property was built in 1890.
Whoa.
But it was owned by a Portuguese guy that did all of the renovations. And this is a fourplex that was, there's 3 2-bedroom units. So upstairs is a large 2-bedroom. Downstairs of that bay window, it's another 2-bedroom. And the bump out to the air conditioner that everybody looking at, that's one of the bedrooms in the 2-bedroom. And then to the right, on the ground floor, that's a 1-bedroom. And to the back, there's another 2-bedroom. And they're all 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom with 1 bathroom.
What kind of rent roll? What kind of rent roll are you getting over there in those units?
So upstairs is paying. Well, I inherited all of my tenants. Now, okay. I purchased this property. This property was on the market for $160.
What year?
And this was in 2018.
Do you guys hear that?
And then what happened with this one is that they had it up for 160, and this is how sometimes you can get greedy. I offered them 145. And what had happened is that upon offering the 145, they were hemming and hawing about it. They countered, and I didn't want to budge. And my realtor friend, Chris, who Dave and I use, he gave me a tidbit of information that there's somebody else coming in with another offer. But they were struggling with financing. So I was able to jump back in because I really wanted it. I knew it was a deal, but I was trying to squeeze. And I ended up picking it up for $150.
Wow. So, but like Carl was asking about like financing. I know you refied to get the bread, but did you just do conventional mortgage to pick this property up?
Yes.
Were all these, Dave, were yours?
All 25-year amortization on the first one, 30-year amortization on this one.
So Dave, yours, were they conventional mortgages as well, or they private loans, or paid outright?
Well,
the first one was a private because I couldn't get a mortgage on it because it was so low, right? So it was private, and the second one was conventional.
So private mean like a vendor take back type mortgage, or
No, it was
just
a private lender. Went to a private lender.
Did you refi it since then, or are you still?
I did refi the
Mhm.
first one. The second one is running exactly the same way as I got it.
So the first one was the private mortgage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't get a mortgage for it because it was so low. No one wanted to lend me that.
So Dave, have you run into any of that as well, or now that the values have kind of gone up, that's no longer
Yeah,
really
well,
an issue?
the problem is at the time a lot of people weren't really keen on giving more. Like when you say Chatham, they kind of gave us slant eye, and this one was a problem for me to close. This one I actually had to take out some money, and I actually bought this cash.
Okay.
Because the guy that I secured the mortgage with pulled out 2 weeks before I closed, saying, literally my mortgage broker came to me, showed me the email. The guy said, "Oh," and it wasn't a guy, it was a bank. Forget the name. I think it was Street Capital, and they said they don't like the foundation.
Oh.
They're out. And this was, my conditions. This was a 2-month closing. My conditions, everything was met. Had all my paperwork from them with the mortgage. I fulfill all financial conditions, everything like that. So with 2 weeks, I had to pull out money from my house, my personal house, and I was able to close this cash. Actually, I was like 2 days late. They were
Beer stress, alive? Pure stress. Pure
they were
sweat.
pissed.
Loose belly.
They were pissed, man. But again, I think the realtor was more pissed than the actual owners, because I didn't even like my realtor Chris. He was really good, and I bought him a beer for this one because that lady gave him hell. But the lawyers worked it out, and I was able to close on this. And then once I closed on this, I was able to clean it up because the upstairs unit, I did a little bit of work, because when I bought this, the reason I bought this is based on the 1%. This was making literally $1,600 a month in rent, which I found was very, very low.
And it's already well over the 1%.
But it was well over the 1%. But another thing is that two of my tenants, one tenant's been there for 37 years.
Woo.
And she's 89 years old. And my next tenant is her son. He's been there for 25 years.
Wow.
And then the other two, well, they were fairly recent. So I know the potential is there. And the rent roll on that one is they were paying $410. $410 or $420. The back was paying something like $300 for the 2-bedroom. The other 1-bedroom was $300, and upstairs was paying like another $400. So it worked out to be just 15 and change. And what I had to do with that is I had to literally call a meeting, spoke to everybody, and I asked them, because I can't force a rent increase, and I asked them to increase the rent. I think the lady downstairs, I put in some laminate floors for her. The other people, I just cleaned up the place, and I was able to bump the old lady's place. I bumped her from 420 to 570. Back, I was able to bump him up from 300 to 400. Now I have him up to 450. And the 1-bedroom, well, that's a problem. Call her cat lady. She fixing to go right now, but the Rona got me in a pickle because I'm one of those people that had a landlord-tenant board date for April 15th, which never happened. And then upstairs, the lady, she left. She wanted to move to London, which was great. So I was able to clean up that place because it was in rough shape. And I said clean up, no major renovations. It was paint. I fixed the kitchen floors. I created a laundry room for that extra side room that didn't really do anything. I created a laundry room and paint, and I was able to rent upstairs. Now our upstairs is going for 800. When it comes to, and I pay the water on the building, everything else the tenants pay.
So does anyone have any general questions? I know I don't want to exasperate all the questions. Anyone have any other general questions for these brothers with regards to anybody right now on realtor.ca looking up Chatham as we speak?
I think there was a question in the chat by Craig to break down the financial side. I know we did it a little bit, but like down payment, monthly mortgages, interest rates, etc.
Well, Puck, you had a property recently closed, I think, as well, down in
Yeah,
Chatham.
if you want to break that down, we could break that one. I could give you the address. It's 57 Foster in Chatham. So my story is, you'll see that Dave there, we used to play cash flow, and Dave went and bought 2 properties, and I had 0. So I said I had to catch up to Dave.
Want to give me lots when he went to go buy all the properties, eh?
Oh man, I was like, when the man got to 2, I was like, holy, what am I doing? So I started looking out there.
Working on 3 now.
Well, in Foster, I only have 1, but or in Chatham, I only have 1. But I think this was one of the first ones I saw. But what helped me purchase this one was when I started going on Bigger Pockets and really using that calculator, because I put this in the calculator. I think they were listing this one at 150, and I was like, okay, 150 is close, but I want a little more of a buffer. This is a duplex, so I went in at an offer of 125, and they actually accepted. So it's not that one; it's that one.
Right here, this gray one here, right?
Yeah. So this is a duplex. There's 1 unit in the front. From this view, you can see there's another piece at the back, and there's another 1-bedroom unit at the back piece. So they're not on top of each other. So the front piece is a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. And when I got this, both tenants were in the building already, so I was getting rent checks from the day one. So I got this for 125. The down payment, I put down 20%, so I think it was like $25,000 I put down. I actually got that money from refinancing equity out of one of the other houses we own. So we put down 25,000. The front unit, I think we get 900. I think just over 900. But I even worked with the front tenant to give her $100 off, and she maintains the yard. So her responsibility is to cut the yard and do whatever with the driveway and stuff like that. So I'm collecting like 800 or something from that one. Derry probably knows the numbers better than me. And in the back unit, I'm getting $625 for the back unit, the 1-bedroom. So the back unit also is I'm getting money from the government or city of Chatham. I don't know if it's welfare or whatever, but money comes straight from the city of Chatham, $625. So I get that in the mail check. So I don't even have to worry about the tenant. Yeah. So it works, man. So
and Derry property manages this property for you, correct?
Right, so I don't have to drive out there 3 hours one way and 3 hours back anymore. I just have to say, Derry, go out and deal with it. I was like, sometimes there's argument with a girl in the back. She's nasty. She's dirty like crazy. The one in the front's clean. She's always complaining, and I just send them right to Derry, the property manager.
Yeah, no, she all right, man.
Yeah,
you just gotta be on them, Just gotta roll in and be on them. Actually, I'm gonna be there on Saturday. We gotta go do.
So, Derry, do you live out there or?
I do not. You know what? A lot of people, especially a lot of my other friends and family, they think that it's really they're surprised how far it is.
What are you asking?
It doesn't bother me. I enjoy driving. I enjoy driving. So, I mean, yes.
Principal interest taxes.
I leave home at 5 o'clock in the morning.
So on that property, I could break it down a little more. So the monthly payments, I think I'm paying mortgage is like under 500. So even like the one unit in the back is already paying mortgage.
Wow.
And that money comes in automatic, like coming from the city. So interest rate, I don't even know what I'm paying. Like really, I did the numbers and it worked. I don't really care about interest rates. You gotta get close to the low, just get the money.
What's
Like I
like
think
the
it's like
taxes?
3. It's not the lowest. Honestly, I'm not getting the lowest interest rate, but after you,
So
I'm like
what's the cash flow?
cash flow on this.
She's like,
After
"Buddy."
everything is it's like 300. It's not a lot because I'm lenient on the one in the front. I could get another $100 from the unit in the front, but I gave her $100 off to do the yard. Now I'm also doing property management with dairy, so I'm getting like $300 a month.
Okay. I like
Sasha asked, when did you purchase this?
This was early 2019, so I think Dave got his, and then I went and got mine like a month or two after. So it's like
It sounds like people are probably inquiring, are
might
these
have been
deals still out
June.
there? Are these deals still out there? Have you guys been looking back? Dairy, Dave?
Yeah,
I
like
look-
it's still out there.
look
I
on a
watch.
daily basis.
Yeah, I see all
Yeah.
of you.
I was just
Chatham
looking at
and
something
Windsor.
last night.
Chatham and Windsor. I'm looking at those places every day just to see where it's at.
There's
There's still cash flow properties, Chatham and Windsor. Sorry, Derry, what you say?
There's a nice duplex in Chatham right now.
Yeah.
All separate utilities for $158.
Yeah, man.
Bringing
There's
in
still a deal.
$7 and $8 a month. All utilities responsible at the tenant. 158, and I mean, just off of pictures,
Send it to me.
The
I can't
thing
have
you gotta
Me too,
realize,
please.
and David running past me on the cash flow. You know,
the thing you got to realize with Chatham though is that when you're looking at those buildings that are in the anything under, I would say anything under 300, you're gonna have to go through them because those are generally going to be the older buildings and they will require some work. I mean, when I first went out there with Derry, it was myself, Derry, Damien was there, and we seen some buildings. We went off a price point. I had a list of the buildings that I wanted to see based off of what the prices were. I was looking at anything. I believe the highest I went was 250 at that time. I just wanted to see what was out there. And wow, I'll tell you, so the shape that some of these houses are in, because you got to remember that those parts of Chatham where you're going to get those prices it's the older part. So, and a lot of those houses are 100+ years old. So when you see the 150, the 140, the 130, good deals, but when you actually go and touch that building may fall over if you touch it the wrong way.
Yeah, but you may get lucky because I got one for 125 and I didn't have to put a dime into it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not gonna be all of them, right?
But you do have to look. There are some that are
look because
really
they're gonna
bad,
be some.
that
There's
are
gonna
really
be
bad.
some. I seen some, and there's one right on Lorne, not too far from your place there, Derry. That was one of the first we looked at.
Oh, the one with the scratching and the passed out on the couch.
Right. And right. Yeah, you remember that one. That one they had when they closed the door, we were like, oh geez, like where'd the lights go? I believe that one they were asking 95, if I remember.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you breathe the wrong way in that building, it might have fell. I'm surprised
that building needed a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you also have to be aware of the tenants that you get into. I mean, a lot of these places you inherit tenants, and when you inherit certain tenants, it doesn't necessarily work out. Like, you got to be ready for that. You know, and mess is a big thing right now.
Ooh, I can tell you about that.
Yeah, that's the key. You got to make sure that your tenants, if they're old tenants, most likely they're paying low rent. So you got to also take that into consideration when you're buying some of these houses. Because if you know the tenant laws, you cannot increase the rent that rapidly. There's a certain amount you can increase it by. So if you're buying and a tenant's paying like $300, you need to find a strategy to find a way to increase that rent, or it might be a long time before you even cash flow. But first, there was a question. Well, first, there's a comment. Chatham was one of the first free black townships in Ontario. So there is some history with black people in Chatham, which is very interesting. I actually read about that too.
Don't they
And
have
there's
a
a one.
museum down there still? I think they have a museum down there as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
they do.
Yeah.
They do. And the building that they use to do the LTB is actually a Black historic building.
Wow.
Didn't know that.
Interesting.
And there's
Yeah.
one other question to describe the 1%. So I could just quickly describe it. So 1% is basically to quickly analyze a lot of properties in one time to see what you should do more research on. They use this 1% rule. And the 1% rule is if you could collect 1% of the purchase price every month in rent, you should do more research into that property because most likely that property can cash flow. So usually when people are going through, they might be going through thousands of property. So once they'll look at a purchase price and know roughly what rent they could get in that area, and once you could get 1%, most likely you could cash flow. So then you'll go to the next level of investigation to see property tax, like everything else, all the details. So those would be the properties you would spend more time researching in. Hopefully that's clear. But the one thing, 1%, you can actually, nowadays, you can actually look at 0.8%. Because even that property I got in Chatham, it was at a 0.8%. So I was collecting at least 0.8% of the purchase price, and it cash flowed.
Just a rule of thumb, right?
Yeah, it's just a rule of thumb to help you analyze. Those are
On
the
the
properties
fly.
you do more analyzing. If
Yeah.
if you cannot get 1% or 0.8, don't even waste time.
Yeah.
Like, don't waste time.
And
Skip to the next.
I have a follow-up
one
question then.
Sorry, go ahead.
Last time we had the meetup, our lovely financial advisor talked about how long it takes to double your money. So using the 1% rule, how long does it take to get back your the cost of the house?
So you got to look at this. 1% is not interest, like what you're, is not like a return on investment.
Yeah.
This 1% is just like the ratio of rent to purchase price.
Okay.
If you understand. So for instance, if you bought a house for $100,000, if you could collect $100,000 in rent on that same house, most likely it's a high percentage that you could cash flow on that property. So what Damien was talking about with that rule of 72 and the ROI, how you double, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 1% rule is to determine, okay, these are the houses you should spend more time researching into. If they don't hit that 1% or that 0.8%, most likely don't spend time on it because most likely it won't cash flow. If you understand?
I get it, because when you're holding the property, you really don't care if you pay off the mortgage as long as it's cash flowing.
Right. As long as after everything's paid for, you can put money in your pocket.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So then you go to the next step, and then you could calculate after all expenses. I actually sent out a blog post on that. How do you calculate the ROI? Then you will get your yearly rate of return, and then you can use that rule of 72, where you 72 divided by the rate of return. Then you could get how many years your money would double.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll send it out again because I did a blog post how to calculate that ROI. Like how do you calculate the rate of return on a rental property? And then you can use that rule of 72 and determine when you're going to double.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Get some questions in. Let's get some questions. We'll do another 10, 15 minutes or so. So let's get some questions in. Don't be so shy. You guys got people here who jumped into the market, and that's what we like to do, bring people who actually involved in something, not a bunch of long talking, people who are actually in it, that you could say, you know what, the wins, the losses, you know, they talked about a little bit of foundation, older properties, yeah, so, you know, ask away the questions. You got people right here, right now, you know, ask a question. Anyone else have any questions?
If nobody has questions, I could talk about a loss. Oh, so Derry, how many doors do you have? That was a question.
8.
How much?
8.
8.
8 doors.
Where are the doors? They're all in Chatham?
Right now, all in Chatham.
Okay. And Amos, you have 4 in Chatham, right?
Yes, sir.
And then I have 2 in Chatham. Well, 2 in
I have a
Chatham, 2 in
question.
Toronto.
Sorry, I have a question. Is there a maximum that you can have under your name, or do you have to maybe have like a company start to start owning more property?
I guess that's a good question. You could,
That is a good question.
at a
I'm
high
dealing with that
level,
right now.
at a basic, I think it's 4 at easy to go to easy banks. But after that, you got to get more creative. And even at this point, with the changes of the COVID rules, even 4 would be very difficult for you to have under your name.
Yeah, I had 3 under my name. Well, me and my wife's name. We sold 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't try for 4.
Because the reason why, yeah, they're saying lenders will lend up to 8, but now with these new rules, they're not calculating, or some companies are not adding rental income into your personal income. So you basically have your own income, whatever you make, or you and your husband or your partner makes. You have to be able to cover all of the mortgages on all of the properties just on your income now, which is almost ridiculously impossible.
Right.
You got to be making some crazy money to do that. So
Right. Okay.
to even get 4 right now would be very difficult.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
I just inquired on getting 4.
Yeah. But there's always ways to be creative, find different ways to finance. There's always different ways. But like through the bank's regular mortgage, man, it's going to be hard to even get 4. 2 would be really difficult right now.
Okay.
You can ask like Derry or Kevin or Dave, you know, if they do any hard money lending.
I've never done hard money, but my first property in Chatham, what had happened with that property in Chatham is that same year, like I only had like 40,000, and that same year I put 25,000 down on a condo. And later that year, I found this property. So what I had to do is that I found a private lender. I won't call it hard money because the rate was really good. I got a good rate, and I was gonna pay points. And I was able to, but I knew that when I needed to buy the property, close it, renovate it, refi, and I was trying to put off. And I was able to pull that off in October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. I was able to pull June. 8 to 9 months is when I was able to pull that off. And then I was able to pay everybody back because based on the price and the increased value, because the back unit was already, it was trashed. I was able to refi, pull the money out, pay everybody back. So yeah, it looked like I got, $65,000, but 40 went to you, 10 went to you, you know what I mean? And I was back even, but I was making that monthly check every month coming in at the same time, that monthly cash flow. And that was able to help push me forward to the next one. So you do have to get creative with your financing, with people that you do know, sometimes with people that you don't know personally, but sometimes you know someone that's real tight with, that knows somebody that's able to lend you, or because a lot of people will take, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8% on a 6 month for $50K.
Right.
We have a
broker. Just to talk about that quickly, at our next meetup in the second week of July, we have Jason Allen talking about creative ways to finance these things.
It's Tuesday coming.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's next Tuesday. Yeah, right. No. Not a Tuesday coming. It's the following Tuesday.
The following Tuesday.
Second Tuesday, yeah. I think it's the 14th.
We have a broker in here. Craig, come chime in quickly as well, because I know you made mention as well. Chime in quickly. Craig, you here? All right, chime in. Put on your audio. Put on your audio if you don't have your video on. So I see you kind
So
of chimed in.
before he chimes in, so Jason will be talking about ways where friends or families could gift you money, so you could and they could partner with you in purchasing property. So it's not just you own it; you may own it, so they could benefit also from purchasing. Craig, you there? You want to chime in? And before we leave, I also want to talk about some not so great stories of Ontario landlord. Because we always try to paint a pretty picture,
Yes,
like, oh,
I'm.
it's so pretty and nice. Oh,
Yes,
Craig, you
I'm
there?
here. Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Yo, chime in.
How you doing, guys? Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, I was chiming in on the chat. I've actually done a couple deals in the Chatham, Golden Horseshoe, Windsor, London area, and with people like yourselves that own multiple properties. So what I've learned from different lenders is some banks will let you have like up to 4 doors per bank with them. So you have four properties with one lender, and then four doors, I would say, with another lender. And you can just like divide it up that way, just based on different lenders. The problem is that it's not necessarily with the A banks, like your TD Bank and your Scotia Bank. Those guys will cap you like at a lower door number, like around 4 or 5. All right, but it's more so with the B banks. And what I tell people, being with a B bank and having like a slightly higher interest rate, sometimes, you know, it's actually in your best interest because you're renting it out and you're literally
As long
splitting
as the
hairs.
cash flows.
Yeah, as long as if you're making like $1,000 a month per rent with one bank, but you're gonna go with another bank and you're gonna make $900 a month because the interest rate is different. You just gotta do what you gotta do.
So do other banks still calculate rental income? So some banks still do that?
Yes, some banks will take the income and add it to your. Sometimes we'll take the rental income and add it to your overall income.
Is it only 50%, or some do more?
Some go up to 80%.
Wow.
And some will, yeah, like it's very lender specific, right? But the trade-off is the bank that will do like a higher percentage will charge you a higher interest rate.
Yeah, I feel you.
Right. So really it just boils down to the numbers. Like you have to like just do the math on it.
Yeah. So if the numbers work, who cares what the interest rate is, really?
Exactly. Like even on the private side, you might be paying, let's say, a higher interest rate of, let's say, 6.99 or 5.99%, but they're going to ask you for less. They're going to ask you less questions. They're not going to ask you to prove your income. They might just be like, okay, just show us your bank statements for the past 6 to 12 months, and then you'll get approved. Versus you go to TD Bank and they're going to dig up everything in your life, you know, just to qualify you. Is it really worth that 2%? It depends.
Especially
Again,
when it's
you have to do the
rental
math.
income. That's why you just have to increase your rent to make the tenants pay.
Yes. But that's also why I was asking you guys to break down the numbers earlier for some people that necessarily don't know, right? Like you bought the property for $150 and then you put 20% down, right? And then you got a interest rate of this and your monthly mortgage is this, right? So if your monthly mortgage amount is, let's say, $500, but you're now collecting $1,500 a month in rental incomes, you're still benefiting.
Yeah, that's why I know my interest rate is higher than it should be, but it's like I got through. Let me get the money.
Yeah.
That's Craig from Matrix Mortgages, right? From Matrix Mortgages.
Yes, sir.
As well, so you guys can always look him up as well.
Just to toot our own horn, we are the largest independently owned brokerage in Canada. And we are Black-owned.
Yo, could you send your contact info in the chat?
Yes, I will.
Thanks.
Yes, that's awesome. Anyone have any last questions before we wrap up? We want to wrap up for 10:30, so you got 9 minutes. You have any questions to go? I know Damien's got his whiteboard. Looks like he wants to write something on that whiteboard. He did an excellent job the other week, man. Trust me. But yeah, anyone have any other questions for these brothers? For David, Derry. We appreciate guys, actually showing their progress, sharing the actual stuff that they have been involved in. And hopefully, anyone who's been around with us for a little while here, this Principal Evolution Group, it's really to bring people to create action. We don't want to talk. We don't want what do you say, paralysis of us is we're analyzing. No, bloody hell, you better jump. You better jump, right? So there's a market here where even if you're doing 20% because it has, you're doing an investor, you're not going to get 5% down out there if you don't live there for sure. But there's markets where you can get in. If you're scared about going across the board like we're doing, you can get into cheaper markets or more inexpensive markets in Ontario, as you can see, with proof right in front of you, right? So anyone have anything to chime in? Any questions for these brothers? Ask now.
Appreciate your time, so fellas. Terry, I learned some stuff. Dave as well too, and for the rest of the group, you might have met Dave at one of the cash flow meetups. That's Mr. Take Lawsuit.
Take Lawsuit.
Yeah, for sure. You'll definitely meet him at cash flow meetup nights for sure too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but the one thing I also want to leave here, we've been talking about Southern Ontario. I think people, before you get into the rental market, you should read the landlord-tenant laws, because the tenants do have a lot of laws, so you got to know how to work within them. Even rental increases, getting tenants out, like all those things, you would need to learn that, because we got in first and the tenants were teaching us. And we realized, man, we need to be on. We need to know.
Boy, they have some professional renters out there, and they know the game.
100%.
It's a different game out there, and it's a different life. So when they get you, and I can speak on that firsthand, because like I said, I just got these people out before the rules changed, and believe me.
And how many months was it no payment?
It was a quick turnaround, because they got in. I bought that place in August. I had to fix that unit, got it ready, got it rented March 1st, and I'm serving evict notices November of the same year. Go in, me and Kevin were there. We walk in, and it was a total nightmare. Like, these people had already ruined the place. There was probably 1 million needles in the place, and I mean, I just literally I found needles up to last week. I was still working on the place. I just finished it, and up to last week I found needles in there still, with the amount of needles that they had in there.
Wow.
And that's just one aspect of it. Not to mention that they knew the game, because when I served eviction notices, they didn't even flinch. They took me right to the end, I had to call the sheriff, and they literally waited until the sheriff came, and they didn't make any noise. The sheriff came and they walked out.
Professionals, boy.
They knew that was it, right? So everything that I was threatening them with and all that, they were just like, yeah, all right.
So that I say that to understand that, there are some downsides. So you should be a couple months prepared. You never know, because it's not always a rosy picture. You always got to be prepared.
We had a quick question. They're asking, Belleville's affordable right now. Any other markets? Quickly, Derry.
Derry would be the one to know that. Derry's a man researcher.
Yeah, the markets that I will be looking at right now: Belleville, Perry Sound. I see some good deals. Nepean, Trenton has some. I see some good ones there too.
What about Guelph? Is Guelph still good or too high already?
Too high. Cornwall though. Cornwall and Kingston. I give Kingston.
I do hear a lot about Kingston.
Yeah, and it's not that London? Drive. 2 hours. 2 hours and change.
Someone asked about London. London's expensive, what I heard.
Yeah, London already got up there, yo.
Yeah, and the problem with London is that you have to register as a landlord and pay a landlord tax every year to be a landlord in London.
Serious?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot more restrictions, and it just costs you a little bit money and a lot more scrutiny.
I guess because they have the university out there. A
Well,
lot of
I don't know if that's what it is, but It's
Just
a lot
any
more.
landlord, not
Sir?
even student. Just any landlord, not even if you're a student landlord. Any landlord.
Any landlord.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I mean, Windsor is always
That's a
offered
money grab.
St. Thomas. Brantford. It's a little different. Brantford is on the border right now. Brantford is on the border. But I mean, I only thing I would like to leave a lot of people with is that when you get into it, do your research. Like you gotta spend time to look so you can see the trends and ask questions. It's an amazing community here. You can reach out to anybody and ask a question on a private DM on Principal Evolution chat. Anybody for guidance and help. And if I had this resource years ago, man, I'm like a bat. I'd be flying in the dark with sonar. Now I can see.
And you know what I wanted to say as well, Derry, to kind of jump onto what you there as we close out here, and what Davis kind of was mentioning is know your risk level. Know what you're comfortable. You know what you're like me and my brother, we have rental property here in Oshawa. The neighborhood's turning, but it's a bit of rougher across the road. Same thing, thousands of needles in the place. Quebec Street Apartments was like a New Jack City type of place. So you have to know, like, what you're willing to deal with. It's not going to be all pretty stuff. If you want pretty stuff, then look for something pretty. You might wait forever, but
or you might pay a lot of money.
You'll pay a lot of money, and
pay a lot of.
Yeah. You have the resources.
On that note, like you just said, Kelsey, you said about knowing your risk level, and for that reason, if you're going out of town, for that reason, you should have at least 2 doors on one building, because you never know what you're going to run into. Help. Especially you're dealing with those with the lower, like the lower price points of these houses, and you're in the rougher neighborhoods. You're going to deal with some of that. So again, I can speak on that firsthand. I have 2 doors on the one building, so if it was a single family and I ran into them, it would have been a different situation, because now they messed my whole income up. But I dealt with what they were dealing with, and I still had the other guy covering his rent, covers the mortgage of the house. So it was good. I didn't have to dip into my pocket to carry the house, but obviously I had to spend money to redo the unit. But if it was a single family house, it was a different situation. So if you're going to step into those arenas, I would say look into something that you'll have at least 2 doors.
That's a very good point. Less risk.
Yeah, definitely.
All about risk mitigation.
That's what it is.
Correct. So on that note, we'll wrap it up. We appreciate the brothers here for sharing all the information. We appreciate you guys for participating, giving feedback. Like I said, we've had this group Principal Evolution really to talk about finances. Tonight's real estate, could be stocks, bonds, trucking, whatever, but to keep in mind that we keep these discussions going and then keep action behind the discussions, right? We can't be out here looking for Jada and Alga Salsina or whatever the newest trend story is. Fine, take 10 minutes a day, but then take it 2-3 hours, get your audiobook, your podcast, stuff in the chat, go look stuff up, do whatever. Let's get the action going. Let's keep it going. Let's go, guys. Anyways, you guys.
All right, have a good night, guys.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks, Kels.
Good night. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Don't have to go home, but you do got to go.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
All right, good night.
Night.